Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most to ask your girlfriends and your wives. Is James Gunn a capable writer-director or a salesman or a bit of both? I would say he's a bit of both. Now, something I've discovered about James Gunn since he's become co-CEO of DC Studios is that he's always coming onto social media clarifying what he clarified the other week. If you're not confused, I am. If he's not confused, I am. Because it is confusing in the end. He says one thing, then he says the other. So he'll say, we're very proud of the Penguin. We did give some suggestions, but we didn't need to do too much because people were so amazing on the production. That show had nothing to do with you. You shouldn't be poking your beak, no pun intended, in the Penguin. Nothing to do with you or what Matt Reeves is doing. Just because, you and Peter are CEOs of DC Studios doesn't mean you have to poke your nose. Matt Reeves is a genius. You don't need to be getting involved with his corner. He tried to poke his nose in to Joker Folly and Dwell. Whatever you think of that movie, that was Todd's vision, Todd's project. Now, we all know how Christopher Nolan is no longer at Warner Brothers, right? They drove him away, they annoyed him, not only because of the day and date and the fallout he had with Jason Keeler, who was the CEO of HBO Max at the time, but he was he was already upset how they treated Zack Snyder. So the day and date thing was just the tip of the iceberg, if you ask me. But there's another director that WB drove away, a very talented director, and it's thanks to James Gunn. His name is also James Wan. During the production of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, well, we discussed this already, James Gunn tried to interfere with that movie, and in a lot of ways he did. That movie is barely 2 hours, a typical length of a James Gunn comic book movie, by the way. He interfered a lot in that movie, you can tell. He interfered in the Flash movie. Now, you can kind of understand why he interfered with the Flash movie, because it's a backdoor to the DCU. But still, he didn't have to interfere, in the makeup of that film. And he did. It was his idea to bring in George Clooney in the end. A dumb idea that's actually not funny. The idea of the tooth falling out of Ezra Miller. That's James Gunn's idea. I'm sure of it. And a lot of the gags that you see in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom are from James Gunn. What a horrible way to finish an iconic live action version of Aquaman. And now, Warner Brothers have lost James Wan. James Wan had a long relationship with New Line Cinema, also owned by WB, and he made an amazing, outstanding first Aquaman movie. Now, he's gone somewhere else. Is it Universal, who for me now are the biggest studio on the planet? But he's gone. He's no longer affiliated or associated with WB. But you still got Margot Robbie's Wuthering Heights. Hooray! That's good, isn't it? This is a studio down on its knees, and there's a lot of things with James Gunn that you notice that make him a salesman. I think he's a better salesman than Jeff Johns and John Berg were. I think he's a better salesman than Walter Hamada was, who barely made any public appearances or public speeches like Gunn does all the time, and he was running DC Film. Once Ray Fisher exposed him, he vanished. He went into hiding underground. If it wasn't so tragic, it would have been hilarious. James Gunn talks too much, right? It's as simple as that. James Gunn likes the sound of his own voice. Now, I have to react in different ways to different things that are happening. So it's not always going to be positive about James, and it's not always going to be negative. I have to say things the way I see them. And he is a salesperson. But I don't mind us having a co-CEO of DC Studios who, is a good seller. But I don't like people being economical with the truth. So he became a salesman in terms of the Flash movie and said it's one of the best movies in the genre. That was being economical with the truth. Some people call James Gunn a liar. He certainly is an unreliable narrator, and I've called him that many times. So is he a capable writer director, or is he a salesman? He's a bit of both. And I look at his Superman film and what it's about, and what is it about? Well, this isn't an origin story, and some will say, well, Mick, you can't complain about that. You know, people don't want to see another Superman movie starting off on Krypton and seeing him being shot down to Earth. I concede that. I wouldn't mind that personally, but I concede that. This is going to be a Superman movie with a lot of characters to deal with. The more you have to deal with other characters, the less you deal with Superman. Yes, he will be the focal point of the movie. But, and this is because of DEI, make no mistake about it, you know, you've got to tick different boxes, and by having different characters in this movie, you attempt to do that. Now, of course, they're doing a reverse Kingdom Come, you know, and how Superman will be a better example to these other DC characters, which is a good, interesting idea. But it's not going to just be a Superman film. In a lot of ways, it's a glorified Justice League movie. That's the truth. So really, this isn't just a simple solo Superman movie. This is how Kevin Feige makes CBMs, where you have the focal point, the character the movie's named after, but you have a lot of other characters around said character as well. I don't like that, but we'll see if it's a good selling point. We'll see if it works. But without knowing what this film is, it's very, very difficult for us. You know, we're all asking the same question. Will this movie make money? Will this movie be great? This is a Superman film, not Guardians of the Galaxy or the Suicide Squad. Yes, you know, and to the people who are going to say, oh yeah, well, if Creature Commandos is great, that proves that Superman's going to be great. No, we know James Gunn is great at making those type of pictures. But that, Creature Commandos is one thing, Superman is another.